When it comes to horror, H.P. Lovecraft could be called the father of cosmic horrors worldwide, and the maker of all the stuff of nightmares and madness. His stories are still told, spin-offs are still made, and people are still terrified by what is in the darkness. Games have become a great way for these stories to be brought to life, with more and more Lovecraftian horror games released seemingly every year. All of them are great additions to the Lovecraftian world. Players will not only have to leave the lights on while playing them, but also make sure that nothing is lurking in the darkness once they are alone. Welcome to Game Rant, everyone. My name is Geoffrey. In today's video, I'll be highlighting 10 of the best games inspired by the works of H.P. Lovecraft that you should consider checking out. Number 10. Stygian, Reign of the Old Ones. Stygian, Reign of the Old Ones sees a supernatural event known as Black Day come to Arkham, Massachusetts. This leads to the city being cut off from the rest of the world and chaos taking control. A cult worshipping the Old Ones, the mob, and other entities vie for power while recruiting new members into their midst. Players follow the story through several characters' choices in this RPG and are thrown into a detailed world rife with Eldritch horror. Each decision shapes the game and the character as they progress through a dynamic world full of atmosphere. Number 9. Sunless Sea. Sunless Sea isn't built around revolutionary new ideas, but instead takes old concepts and mechanics and implements them into its gameplay loop with near flawless precision. It's packing a really well-written story, plenty of interesting characters, and more than its fair share of death and despair. Innovation is a wonderful thing, but there's nothing wrong with the game drawing its inspiration from those that came before it. Sunless Sea does this to great effect, and still manages to feel unique without really treading too much new ground. The giant angler crabs and sentient icebergs are pretty scary, but it's the sense of uncertainty that the game is able to evoke that is truly terrifying. Number 8. Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu is a semi-open world game that is all about surviving a Lovecraftian world's horrors, and was one of the most highly anticipated games back in 2018. This psychological horror experience, based on Lovecraft's most famous short story, is one that requires the player to be crafty in both stealth and investigative abilities while following Edward Pierce. Edward is led into a world of horror unimaginable to the human mind while investigating a case. The game is based on the player's choices throughout the story, with dialogue, exploration, and events that will shape Edward's sanity in the endgame, while also determining the dialogue choices that players get to choose from. Number 7. Conarium. When it comes to creating a dark and foreboding atmosphere, Conarium is up there with the very best. The tight, narrow spaces that players are forced to navigate can at times be absolutely terrifying, while the dull, muted colors and encroaching darkness that surrounds them help to build suspense through the game's uncertainty that they evoke. Had more time been spent working on the game's script and a bit more money on hiring voice actors, this could easily have been a fantastic game. Instead, it's one of those titles that is good in places but falls short of crossing the greatness threshold despite its obvious potential. Even so, anybody looking for a solid Lovecraftian experience should be more than satisfied with what's on offer here. Number 6. Eldritch. Eldritch is an immersive, retro-aesthetic roguelite about going into the depths of Antarctica in a 10-story dungeon. This all makes for a wild ride and takes players through adventures in uncovering Eldritch horrors and trying to live to tell the tale. Eldritch was one of the more popular games of its genre, and also back in its time. It's really no wonder why either, considering the excellent job that the game does of keeping players on their toes, with the ever-present threat of permadeath lurking right around every dark corner. Number 5. Remnant from the Ashes. Perhaps one of the most notable Lovecraftian style games of the past few years, Remnant from the Ashes, as well as its follow-up, aptly named Remnant 2, features fantastic co-op gameplay, a wide variety of fun-to-use weapons, and an interesting character customization system that allows players to tweak and tailor their characters to better suit their preferred playstyle. The wonderfully designed bosses are arguably one of the game's biggest selling points though, with each one providing a healthy amount of nightmare fuel, for better or worse. Sadly, the story can be a little generic in places, and melee combat is pretty underwhelming too, but those who enjoy taking down terrifying monsters should be able to overlook these flaws in no time. Number 4. The Sinking City. Released in 2019 and set in the fictional city of Oakmont, Massachusetts in the 1920s, The Sinking City follows Charles W. Reed, a private investigator who fights to find out why he's haunted by terrifying visions. While doing so, he becomes tangled in the mystery of Oakmont's problems and the flood that plagues the town. The flood brings mass hysteria and madness to its citizens, and the town is on the verge of collapse when he arrives there by invitation. His investigations lead him to stumbling upon a nefarious plot to bring Cthulhu back to the world, and it's up to him and the player to stop it. Number 3. Dredge. Released in March of 2023, Dredge is a fishing adventure game with a dark secret lurking beneath its surface. Players are tasked with using their fishing boat to explore a mysterious archipelago where they'll catch and encounter all manner of Lovecraftian monstrosity down in the water's depths. The game is beautifully presented and manages to blend the fishing and Lovecraftian genres together surprisingly well. Gameplay is a lot deeper than one might expect too, with players really needing to work hard in order to fully master the mechanics of Dredge. Number 2. Bloodborne. Bloodborne is dubbed a Souls-like game and is in the same ranks as Dark Souls and the Remnant games, amongst others, when it comes to its gameplay. A lot of the lore in Bloodborne is on par with Dark Souls in its complexity, and it has been cited as one of the greatest games of all time by critics. There's been a card game and a comic book series based on Bloodborne, as well as a DLC expansion, The Old Hunters, which was released back in 2015. It struggles to differentiate itself from the Souls-like tag, but for most purposes, it's a unique game that most players will enjoy and will be sure to conjure up Cthulhu nightmares as you explore this dark and macabre world. Number 1. Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Amnesia: The Dark Descent places players into the shoes of Daniel, a man who is investigating Brennenburg Castle. Not only does Daniel's health need to be monitored in this game, but also his sanity, with his fear of the darkness being something that can have serious consequences if players allow him to become too overwhelmed. Throughout the game, Daniel will have chances to avoid monsters, as he has no way of actually protecting himself, apart from running and hiding like most of us would do, and opportunities to recover with laudanum. Despite being released way back in 2010, this is still a unique psychological masterpiece that continues to haunt players as nightmares. And there we have it, everyone, 10 of the very best games to check out that have been inspired by the ominous written works of H.P. Lovecraft. Thanks so much for watching this video from Game Rant. Have a truly wonderful and happy day. See you in the next video. Bye bye.